welcome to our interview, and thank you very much for
No problem.
taking the time to answer questions. And would be very nice if you could tell a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Maybe what are your strengths, weaknesses, and how do you spend your time?
Okay, so hello, I'm Pauline, and most of the time I'm spending my day inside my head, I would say. Mostly I'm reading or listening to music, but it all circles around thinking, so I'm always inside my head, and I'm thinking a lot about things that interests me and things I want to learn more about. So yeah, that's everything. That's everything I spend my time with. So yeah, reading, listening to music, painting, drawing, sometimes writing. So yeah, and I think on one hand, being so much inside my head is a weakness and a strength at the same time, because I do think a lot, and I try to learn a lot about various different topics. So I always I think I see this as a strength, because I do learn a lot about myself, not only because I think about myself, but because I do think about the world or things that interest me and learn more about them, and therefore I learn more about me. So I think that's a strength, but at the same time it's a weakness too, because when overthinking starts, this is a problem, I would say, and it's not so easy to escape outside your head. So yeah. Yes.
Thank you very much. And could you say how you are related to the topic of OCD?
I do have a long history with different mental illnesses, and so it's the theme of mental illness follows me my whole life, I would say. And OCD, my mom says that the first symptoms of OCD showed on a really young age, but not in a such drastic way it is now. And nowadays I have some problems with it. It's not only also like intrusive thoughts you have, but it's also the I don't know how you say it in English, right? But the things you do about it to get away this feeling of these thoughts cause. But at the same time, I'm speaking from a mindset of a still sick person, but at the same time, these the OCD gives me some type of freedom to live my life a little less stressful, I would say. So yeah, it's like, I don't know how you say it in English, but yeah, it's very both-sided. Yes.
And why did you decide to share your story on the interview and on our webpage in this project?
Because I saw that yes, your announcement, and I do have a very I do have a surrounding which is very open-minded, and with the people in my surroundings, yes, I do talk a lot with them about it, but these are all people that follow me since childhood, so they do know a lot about it, and I think it's very important to try to educate or spread awareness for things like this, like OCD, for people who don't have any touching points with it, because I think OCD is still a little bit I don't know if it's the right word, but misconcepted. So as a person who actually suffers from this mental illness, I think it's very, I'm very glad to spread awareness about this mental illness, and yeah, maybe to help others, because I do not speak a lot with other people who have the same mental illness as me. So if this illness is good for something, then I really like to take this opportunity. So yes.
And I'm very glad that you took it as well. I would be interested in what kind of OCD you're affected by, or could you specify a little bit about around when it was maybe diagnosed or you noticed it, and how often it affects you?
So as I said, my mom says that symptoms of OCD really showed up very early in my life, but not in a drastic way, which affected my day-to-day life. So I would say it really started to show and really affect my life, like I would say 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, because I suffered from, as I said, from various mental illnesses, and at that time, like 4 or 5 years ago, it was panic attacks. I had them really, really strong in school, and I worked on them, and they got resolved, and I had like a very normal life for quite some time. But then the symptoms of OCD, they came into my life, and I couldn't really do something about it. And at first it was, so yeah, so you can differentiate OCD in different forms, I would say, but that's only from my perspective. But you can only have intrusive thoughts, where you have thoughts like, oh, if I don't do this or that again, or if I don't check if the oven is still on, then my house will burn down and my family will die, something like that. Or if I don't do this again, my family or myself even will die in a car crash or something like that. So these thoughts are really hard, and one very specific so OCD intrusive thoughts are, you know that these don't make sense, and you know that if you run away once again, or you close the door one more time, that's not going to affect anything, and your family is not really going to die because you not close the door one more time again. But it's still there, and it's about the feeling these thoughts like trigger inside you, and these feelings are very hard to stand against. So these symptoms of the OCD, like doing things repeatedly, or I don't know how if other people have other symptoms, how it shows, or how they get rid of this feeling which really captivates you. But yeah, and I I really lost the point of the like the start of the question.
Yeah,
so
no worries.
sorry if I.
So could you maybe report some situations where you're affected by certain thoughts or maybe also actions that come in?
And so I do really have them, so thoughts and even the symptoms like repeated activities, I do have them all day long, I would say. But in some situations they're very strong. Most of the time I can really handle them really good and can try to skip them in my head and be like, no, that's not it for this. But sometimes there's some situations where I just, where I really struggle with them. And these are things like when I sometimes try to write things down, because writing is for me like because when I try to write something, and it's so easy to like, I don't know how to say it in English. Yes, to cross the words I've written. It's so easy to do that, and for me it always feels like, even though I'm writing something totally different, but these thoughts are inside my head, and it feels like I do write these intrusive thoughts, which consist sometimes of people dying in my surrounding, or catastrophic. I don't know how to say it in English, but really bad things inside my head. And it always feels like I'm writing these scenarios down, and then they're black and white on paper, and it's like I write my future, and it's really going to happen because I write them down, even though I'm writing something totally different. So writing is sometimes really hard for me, and it's so easy to cross these things out, or just to say, okay, I'm not gonna write anything then. And another big situation is if when I walk in public or something like that, then it's hard for me sometimes to cross the street, because it's very, you have like this starting point from the one side of the street and this end point of the other side of the street, and it's so easy to say, okay, just go back again, and then you cross the street one more time. And because it has like this start and this ending point, which is very clear, not like walking like walking like on the sideway. And it's like, it's harder for the OCD, for the intrusive thought, to say, okay, you go 10 steps back and then you go them again. But on the street, it's like, it has two borders. I don't know how to, if I'd say it right, but it's like, yes, the starting and this end point. And it's so easy to say, okay, you go back the street and then you go, you cross it again. And it's also, it's a dangerous situation, because sometimes I'm so much inside my head that I don't even bother to look if there's a car coming. And I think, these are some situations where it really shows. Things like putting clothes on or changing my clothes. It's also sometimes really hard, because it's I would say it's this clear cut. Okay, you can put the t-shirt on again or off again, and it's not some vague things. Yeah, I hope that this answered the question a little bit.
Yes, it did. Yes,
Yeah.
thanks a lot. So we could already get a little grasp about how your or how those thoughts and actions influence your everyday life. But is there, or yeah, could you describe a little more how often or how intensively you're affected by that in, yeah, just everyday life?
So as I said, I do have these thoughts at least every day, and they do tend to come up really often. But they do come up more often in more stressful situations, which I do not find myself in these days really often. So I'm very glad. But when I was still in school, I do had them really strong, and it do starts with in the morning, waking up. As I said, putting your clothes on is really hard sometimes, or changing my clothes. I do have a fear of getting sick or getting diseases, which is not really a part of the OCD, but I do try to cope these fear of getting sick with OCD activities. So these two affect my life really bad at the moment. Like eating is sometimes very hard, or find something to eat is really hard sometimes. Yeah, but at home it's not. So when I'm at home, it's not really that hard. If I'm comfortable with myself, I can really, I do really have the confidence to stand against these thoughts and try to say to me or to tell myself that these are just thoughts and this is not reality and this is my mental illness and I don't have to do anything about it because it's not real. And if I'm comfortable, like at home, and I feel secure, it's much better to overcome these thoughts. But especially when I'm outside, and if I'm under pressure or something like that, they do become really, strong. It's not even that the thoughts become more it's always it's like the same thoughts, so they consist from the same pictures or words I have inside my head, but they do become more aggressive. So it's it's always like they go really in front of my brain, in front of my eyes, and I can't really get out of them or try to skip them as I do when I'm comfortable or when I feel secure or something like that. So, but as I said, the pure thoughts of the OCD, they're by my side like the whole day. I had when my OCD was at the peak point, I would say, my day-to-day life was very, very hard. I even had problems laying down at in the evening inside my bed. So I sat on the bedside and cried my eyes out because I couldn't stand up and I couldn't lay down and I was tired, but these thoughts came in and I couldn't. At some point you can't even move because every move you make, it's like do it again. So this feeling goes away, and yeah. But I'm very glad that I learned through therapy that, how to overcome these thoughts a little more or a little better. Yes.
And you were talking a little bit about the difference between staying at home and feeling more secure and going to public. Are there certain places in public where you get confronted by OCD more intensely or aggressively than on other places? And do you maybe know why that is like this?
So I have a huge problem with rooms or places which are like closed. So I do have a huge problem with I don't know how to really to say it right in English, but public traffic, like bus and the train and something like that. Like rooms which are very small or closed, and I do not can escape them quickly if I want to. I really have to, I have to wait for the next stop to get out of the situation. So this one is really hard, and I don't know really why these thoughts or problems or anxiety even comes at these situations really strong. But I think it's like because OCD is all about you have, or the baseline of this mental illness is that you have struggled with losing control in your life. So you're trying to find control in other ways to feel like you have some control over your life. And I think things like that, like bus and train, where I have to sit inside and I don't have the control over where does this thing drive and when do I can escape the situation. And I do have to let go in these situations, and this is where my OCD comes really strong, and because I search for control where I don't have control. And yeah, I think it's like that. I do have it in other public places like supermarkets, or in school I had it very much or very aggressively, because sitting inside this classroom, which I know I could go out or escape the situation, but it's always this this fear, because I have to ask the teacher and all the people surrounding me, and maybe they watch me or think about me or think about, so it's always these rooms or places where I don't really have the control over, but yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So you, before that, you were also talking a little bit about crossing the street and how this starts with one point and ends, and it's easy to be repeated. And if you'd like, it would be very interesting to know, like, what kind of specific thoughts cross your mind when you're in a situation like that.
So I tend to always describe these OCD thoughts only as thoughts, but it's more, for me at least, it's more of a feeling. So it starts with a thought inside my head, like it's for me it's more pictures inside my head, or even words, like as I said, I see a situation where my mom comes to me and says, hey, your sister or your brother or your family, the rest of our family died in a car crash or something like that. And then from this picture or this thought which was created by my OCD, I would say, this triggers a feeling, and this feel obviously it feels really, really bad because you don't want your family to die. So yeah, this triggers a feeling which is really, really bad, and then the OCD thoughts start like, okay, how do you resolve this feeling? And this is always like, okay, I can go back to where this picture came first inside my head. I can go back to it, and when I do it one more time and do not think about it, or it's like clearing this picture, clearing this path, this short path you go or you went, and it's like clearing this up with better or more positive thoughts, like erase the thought, which is like, it feels like for me it's like glued on the street or something like that, and if I go back I like erase it a little bit. And yeah, if this happens while I'm for example crossing the street and I'm on the other side, it's like, oh, this feels really bad and I don't want my family to die, and I know, okay, your family is not going to die because you crossed the street and thought about it, but it's like this, but if we do, then it will feel instantly better. And so when the OCD wins, I would say, then I go back and cross the street again, trying to think of better things, or trying to think not of this situation, which is really hard because when someone says don't think, it's this example of the pink elephant. If someone says don't think about a pink elephant, you will always think about that pink elephant. So if I try to cross the street again and think about something, or try not to think about the thoughts or the pictures I had inside my head, then it's so difficult to not think about them again. And on bad days, on good days I can skip these thoughts and just try to keep on walking. But on bad days, on really bad days, I tend to maybe cross the street 3-4 times, because I get like in this spiral of this feeling getting bad, and I try to escape the feeling by going back, but it doesn't really feel better because I think so much about it that this thought or this picture of like my family, or for example dying in a car crash, is so strong inside my head that it doesn't really get better by crossing the street. And so I'm get like in this rush of, oh, I'm just trying to escape the situation, and nothing I do feels gets better. And yeah, sometimes it's really hard sometimes, but yes. And what helps me in these situations is like try to stop at first time and like breathe and think about, okay, or get clear about what's happening at the moment. So like, okay, you got into the spiral in this rush of OCD thoughts and symptoms, like overflowing the situation at the moment. So yeah. I hope.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say I hope this like explain it a little bit. Yeah, because it's very confusing even to me, and it's very irrational. So if you tell this somebody and it's very irrational, and a lot of people like, which I totally understand, but a lot of people like don't really can grasp why you do these things, or why do you think that going back this or crossing the street again will help or make it any better. But yeah, so I hope I try to make it a little more understandable, but for myself I'm very confused sometimes too, so yeah, I hope it helped a little bit.
Yeah, I think you explained it very well. I was wondering if in a certain situation like that, if there was a visible intervention, like a poster or an installation, or maybe just a little reminder also on the wall that would remind you of something like you're not your thoughts, or breathe in, or what if, but what if not, or something like that. Do you think that would help you to just slip out of that spiral and maybe have a little moment of stopping and breathing, which you explained would help to you?
Yeah, I think this would, for me at least, I can only speak for myself, but for me at least, I think it would really, help, because as I said, for me it helps the most to get out of this situation, or this spiral at least, and to just breathe in and try to get clear on my thoughts, and try to get clear on what's happening at the moment, that I'm not in a state of I don't want to say normal state, but I'm not in a state of a healthy minded person, but I'm in a state of this OCD. So I think that it would really help me to see like a poster, or something like written on the wall, very big and very huge, so you can't like unsee it, where it's like, as you said, you are not your thoughts. I think this is really powerful, because I just think it's really powerful, for me at least. Or as you said, what if, but what if not? I think this is really powerful too, because this helped me a lot too. My father often said it to me, like, okay, but what if it's not happening, and you overcome it, and if it's not happened, and then you will feel much better. And I think this is I think that this would at least for me really help me. It's sometimes even like when I see a stop sign at the street, and I see it and I'm like, okay, stop for a moment. Because so I think this would really help. This would really help me.
Okay, nice. That's good to know. And the last question is a bit about how you perceive the public awareness towards OCD. And do you have the feeling that there is already a lot of empathy in public, or maybe also a lack of empathy regarding those kind of psychological conditions? And that's it.
Okay, I think so. I'm really happy and really glad about that. In the past few years, mental health issues or mental illnesses became more like a topic of the public, and that more people try to spread awareness of what some mental illnesses are, and that people who suffer from it are not crazy people, or like they are not psychopathic, but it's very normal and everyone can suffer from it, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. So I really I'm really glad that things, especially like depression or burnout or bipolar, I'm very glad that these became a topic in the media or in the public. And I think OCD is a very well-known too. A lot of people do know about it or heard about it, but I think that especially in the case of OCD, a lot of people have a false understanding of what OCD really is, or how severe it can really be, because from my perspective, a lot of people use this term, oh, I have OCD, like very, very loose. So I learned in therapy that all people have like these kind of, I don't know if you say it in English like this, but I don't know how to say tics, but like these little problems or these thoughts, like these intrusive thoughts, like, oh, should I check the oven once again? Or should I check if the door is really closed once again? So these thoughts are not unnatural. So these thoughts do have a lot of people, and it's not like you're mentally ill if you have these thoughts. But a lot of people use this term of OCD really, very loose. And I think it's nice to spread awareness of how hard OCD can really be, and how people really suffer who like are diagnosed with this kind of mental illness, because it's not only this, okay, do I check the door again, or do I check the oven again, or I'm extremely like clean, and I try to put everything in order, and if it's not in order, then I'm totally I'm totally confused or something like that. But it's really, I think a lot of people have to or have to understand that OCD is much more than just having like these, from my perspective, I would say more more loose thoughts about it, and it's very, so people really suffer from these thoughts, and the actions that come with it are really, you really suffer from them too, because they impact your life so much, to a point where you almost can't live your everyday life in a good way, because you always have these thoughts and they're always running in your mind, and always, and the OCD always try to tell you that these thoughts will always get better if you do things once again, or if you do it, and if you not do it, then everything you fear about will happen and crash into your life at once. And so I think I'm very, so I don't want to say that OCD is not talked about, or that OCD is very a topic where people don't have any touching points with. But I think OCD is like a lot of the time really misunderstood, or the thoughts that come with it. A lot of people miss the basic point, or miss the severeness maybe of this illness. Yeah, I hope I hope this was clear, because I couldn't really find the right words, I would say.
No, I think it was, yes, it was very clear.
Okay.
And, yes, thank you very much for your insights, and that you shared all your experiences and thoughts, and also your knowledge.
Thank
with
you for
us.
having me.
Yes, you're welcome. And is there maybe something else you want to share about OCD in general, or also maybe something you want to give to other people along the way that you came up with during your journey that helped you a lot, and then you would want other people to know?
I would say for all people in general, I would say that suffering from a mental illness is nothing bad, or nothing you have to be ashamed of, because when I first had mental health issues, I was still in school, and I was really like ashamed, and I was very confused about what's happening with me, and I knew that it was not normal, but I didn't understand what's happening with me, or with my thoughts. So I was really like, I couldn't really talk with anyone about it, not even my parents, because I thought if I tell them, they think I'm crazy, and then and that's not. So I thought I wouldn't get the help I needed. But I think it's very important to be clear that it's nothing to be ashamed to have mental illness, or to suffer from mental health issues, and that going or searching for a therapy, or going to a therapist, is also nothing to be ashamed about, because it can be so life-changing, and really, really, really helpful to talk with someone about it who knows about this, who understands this to some degree, and just someone you can talk to, and to maybe together in a talk or something like that, and to get these feelings or thoughts you suffer from, to get these clear, and to understand them, and so you can solve them. So I just want to say that going to therapy is nothing to be ashamed about, and it's really, really, really helpful, and I'm so glad that I made the step to go to therapy. So yes, I think that's the one thing I wanted to say. And for people maybe who really, especially for people who suffer from OCD, I think it's the best to try to make or to get aware that to live in the moment, and to try to breathe, or to just stop to just get out of these thought race, and just to try to stay as present and as in the moment as possible, because I think this is the most helpful thing I learned for my OCD. Yes.
Nice, thank you. I think that was very, very nice thing to share at the end of our very nice and interesting talk.